What happens when two of the most plugged in people in digital care team up to help you make sense of the chaos? Welcome to Control Plus Care. I'm Michelle.
Katie.
This is your weekly briefing on the most important digital care updates. We're unpacking what you need to know this week in under 30 minutes. But first, Katie, how are you?
Very good, very well. Been at home today. I need to apologize to anybody watching this as opposed to listening for the poor video quality on my side. Into about 4,000 conferences, and I've managed to leave the cable for the camera at one of them. So back to normal next week, I hope. How are
Well,
you?
I'll give you my own caveat in that anyone who can hear noise in the background, to keep them out of the room, I have lashed my children in the bath, and they're having a whale of a time. And we're probably going to hear it as we get through this.
Nice. It'll be like nice, sort of like children's laughter in the background while we talk about really serious topics. So,
Well, I'm
remember there's
hoping
joy
it's
in the
that
world.
and less of the strangled squawking as they fight over the shiniest mermaids.
Fair. Hmm.
We do what we can, Katie. We do what
Yeah.
we can.
Pray for Michelle.
Always. Fabulous. Well, we're going to start with the news today, but we are adding in a new segment this week.
Hmm.
Because if there's one thing you and I do a lot of, it's conferences.
It is
And we
conferences.
are deep into conference season. So we thought we would talk to you about where we've been this week or so, the interesting things we've seen. And, if you have been to interesting conferences, if you are hosting conferences that you think we should come along to, please do let us know, because we love to be out and about and we love to meet people. So, let us know what you've got going on as well.
And I'm on a streak of trains running on time recently. So let's just continue to test that.
Why would you say that out loud?
As soon as I said it, I literally have to be on a train at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and it's all going to go very wrong for me now.
I
But
I often list you as like sensible people who say sensible things, and then you risk the train gods.
yeah, I'll report back next week on how that went for me.
Well, let's talk about where we were last week, because it was a busy old week in the world of health, social care, digital data conferences. Um, I spent a fair bit of the week at HET, where we both spoke. And I was on a really brilliant panel talking about kind of cybersecurity and the future of cyber for the health and social care system, which is absolutely my sweet spot in terms of conversations. And it was really lovely, because you know how like these conversations kind of evolve over the session. And through 40 minutes, there was a real theme of collaboration, of, we need to get the system ready for a very different digital future. We know that, like, you'll have heard the stories that we tell on this podcast. Cyber is more difficult to get a grip on than ever before. Attacks are more prevalent, and that the health and social care system is very, very much an appetizing target for cyber criminals. But it was lovely, because there was, people from NHS, from social care, from industry, from local authorities. And the message from everyone was very much, we need to do this together. We need to be thinking about it from the very start. And we need to make sure that as we progress and develop more things, cyber is at the start of everyone's conversation. So that was really nice. We also had Sam and Marta there running some workshops, which went down a storm. Cyber Sam, you will have all met him on this podcast. He runs really good interactive workshops. And one of the things that we're really proud of as Digital Care Hub is our ability to translate hard, complex technical things into the world of social care, into the world of health. And Sam's workshops did that absolutely wonderfully. And then you, Katie, were on a panel, as you often are, talking around health and social care and the barriers to integration.
Yeah, and tell you what, it was a really, really good panel. So we had people from wide, sort of different parts of the sector. So, people in primary care, people who are in the tech innovation startup space, people who are in the commissioning space, really talking about how we can move from pilotitis, right, from just trialing something, but actually into how we can move into a sustainable, innovative ecosystem across health and social care. And what I really like about HET is I think you get people in a room together who wouldn't ordinarily come and meet each other in their sort of normal day-to-day working lives. So actually getting to have that opportunity to talk, to sort of talk to the social care perspective on sort of how we don't always feel particularly included in conversations, and have people, we really spent a lot of time talking about from neighborhood health and the sort of from sickness to prevention and how much of that is in community care. So yeah, it was brilliant opportunity. I was really sad that I could only stay at HET for one day. I also wanted to shout out briefly the NHS Accessibility Lab, which was there. A friend of mine, Claire Della, was setting the whole thing up. And I think it was just amazing to see people who have a real passion and expertise around what accessibility means, then talking to people, senior leadership within the NHS, people within the technology industry about what it means.
Yeah, and I did catch some of the work going on over there, and it really felt non-tokenistic, which is hard to do. The minute accessibility gets mentioned, or lived experience is another thing that's often victim to this,
Mm,
but it felt really intentional and meaningful. So, we've worked as a partner with HET for a couple of years now, um, and we're quite careful about who we partner with because we have a reputation, obviously, of being authentic and honest and truthful. And Het is doing a phenomenal job, I think, of really bringing social care and some of these less kind of prominent topics like accessibility, like patient experience, into what's been a very much a health stronghold for a long time.
absolutely. I think they do an amazing job with it. Which then means we should probably talk about Care Show as
We
well, talking
should
about
also.
conferences. So I was at Care Show 2 days. This were both days this year. Tell you what, it was really, really buzzing. Just it's always an amazing place to meet people, but it was so much going on this year. I feel like I saw about a quarter of everything absolutely max. And there was some really interesting panels which were going on. We did workshops on our stand there. We showed people our new data policy builder, which we should touch on again in a second. Um, and also, I was on some, got to chair two fantastic panels where my favorite thing when I'm chairing is when I learn things from the people who are actually on the panel because it's quite easy to chair, right? You just ask the questions, they're pre prepared. But there was just some brilliant takeaways. I think hearing from CQC about sort of AI and their approaches was really, really helpful and really kind of making it clear. There's a write up already on our website, which we'll link in the show notes, that CQC won't have AI specific regulation because they're not a technology regulator, but there are existing bits of regulation you're already assessed on, which do apply to AI. So I think that's a helpful steer. And actually, probably my favorite tip of the entire week, which is something I hadn't thought about before. One of the panel members, I want to say James, talks about how they're seeing more and more of CVs being handed in, which are clearly written by AI. But it means what they've done is added a question into their interview process. So they are asking people who are potential employees, how are you using AI? What are you using AI for? And actually making it a positive part of the job recruitment experience. Because then, if people are more techy, if people have thoughts about how it could work at the care service, that's actually helpful to know. So I thought that was quite a fun tip.
It's really good because the challenge of the AI recruitment, like snake eating itself, is often, certainly big organizations are seeing these masses of AI CVs and then are employing AI tools to sift these AI CVs, and you're really cutting people out the process. And that actually
Hmm.
feels like putting the human back into the process.
Yeah, exactly. Saying, like, we
Oh, I
know
like
you
that.
use it. That's fine. How could you use it in this role? Yeah, really clever.
That is very clever. I've got to say, so I didn't make it to the care show this week because I had a couple of other engagements. Massive
Boo.
FOMO. I know. Well, firstly, I will admit I turned up to Het a day early, and that is why I couldn't make it to the care show. I'm going to put my hands up and say massive calendar fail on my part. So I ended up being at Het for 2 days when I was intending, like you, on being at Het one day and care show another. So I missed out. And then the team really just rubbed salt in the wounds by sending me pictures of them holding mocktails at a stand, of like our stand looking phenomenal and buzzing. And then there was a carousel
There
at the care
was
show.
there was a carousel.
And now I am not saying that I feel personally victimized by missing out on that, but people's expenses might be getting cut next year, and maybe not everyone can go if I can't.
I mean, I would argue that you made choices and you need to own those choices, Michelle.
I made terrible, terrible choices. I just want everyone to know that I suffered horribly
Hmm.
with my calendar mistake that led to me having to go to 3 separate cities in a single day.
Yeah, that
It
was,
was planes, trains, and automobiles. Like, I was questioning my life choices. About lunchtime when I was on the train back from London to Leeds, I was thinking I could just get off here and start a new life.
yeah. It's when you get to that point where you've run out of all audiobooks and podcasts. And so you're like, I've spent too much time traveling recently.
Yeah, it's the Spotify. You do have no more audiobook credits for me.
Yep. Yep. I know that pain. Always when you have like 40 minutes to go as well.
Yeah, and it's the middle of the month. We've got a lot of month left. But do you know what? I accept that I made choices, I made mistakes, and I can't even promise that I won't make them again.
It's good to be honest with ourselves.
I know who I am.
Yeah. Should we actually do the news
Let's
then?
do the news. Okay, I'm starting with a good news story, so this is brilliant. Um, so the Good Things Foundation, one of mine and your favorite organizations, Katie, they're a digital exclusion charity who do lots of things that are just about cutting through all of the problems people have getting online, and they do some amazing stuff. So they are launching what they're calling the AI Gateway. It's very much a first step for people interested in AI, but with little to no knowledge. It's for really simple online modules, and they've gone down a similar route to the way that we did with our cybersecurity e-learning. There's no sign up, there's no technical language. It is very much aimed at demystifying AI so that people who don't have technical background, which is most people, let's not forget, and they don't feel confident, that they're not put off. I mean, again, this idea that AI is not some kind of like mega tool. In many ways, it's more accessible than any tech we've had before. But that in itself can be really scary. So I've been through it, and honestly, I think it's wonderful. It really fits in with the Good Things mission to reduce digital exclusion. And I'm happy to see anything that opens the door for people who might not find it that easy to step through.
I mean, I just, such a fan of their work. Like, neither Michelle nor I are affiliated in any way with the Good Things
No.
Foundation. We just, honestly, they just do amazing stuff. I recommend them all of the time. They also do a 2-minute animated YouTube video about AI, which I think is probably the best sort of easy listening explainer about the practical uses of AI for people in their day to day life. And yeah, I recommend that to people all the time. I share it a lot when I'm talking about AI. They just do incredible, accessible work for anybody who isn't, I mean, for people who use a lot of technology, but also for people who don't.
Yeah, fab. So I love that.
Yeah. And I have a bit of a meteor one this week. So their report on national engagement on data, cohort 3, which I will explain, has just been published by NHS England. But basically, for, I think about the last 18 months or so, possibly a little bit longer, there has been a massive national consultation happening about how NHS data is used, including social care. So, how people's health and care data is being used. And it's been split up into 3 sections, which is why this is cohort 3. And cohort 3 is really been talking about people's ability to opt out of how their data is being used, focusing very much on the question of what choices should people have about how their health and social care data is used, how can we communicate that better, how can people opt out. And the engagement was done in what they call like 3 tiers, so tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 was a lot of really in-depth engagement with people. They went to workshops, sort of like 6-hour in-person days. They had a lot of background and explanation given to them about sort of how data is currently being used and sort of the mechanisms of security around it. Then you had tier 2, which is more marginalized groups who aren't generally picked up in any kind of research on how data is used. So people who are homeless, sex workers, transgender people, people with mental health issues, that sort of cohort, which was for one-on-one interviews or sort of small group workshops, but not as in depth. And then the tier 3 was a survey, which went out to kind of just get some broad public views. And what I think there's some really interesting stuff in it. We won't have time to go through it all, but some of the kind of key points that I pulled out of it is that regardless of the level of engagement, the core sort of theme that was coming out is that many people thought that choice about how health and care data is used is a fundamental right, not open to debate at all. And we talk about this sort of thing a lot, Michelle, but I just think having the research there as ever is really, really helpful. But also, there were some quite noticeable differences between tier one in particular. So, by the end of the deliberations, the report says that a quarter of those tier one participants, so the ones who'd had all of that engagement, all that background, felt that there was a strong argument to not allow people to opt out of their data being used for
Oh,
planning. But in contrast, tier two were very, very much like, no, we still need to be able to be opting out of our data being used in this way, which I think is really interesting. So it shows maybe the more people understand the practicalities of how their data is used for planning, they are actually more comfortable about it. And it comes up time and time and again in the report that there was a strong sense that there is a social contract in using the NHS, that data, part of using the NHS would be that your data be used for planning services if it's improving the quality of care in the NHS. And that's part of the social contract which is happening, which I just think absolutely fascinating.
interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, we've talked about opt out a lot. Kind of
Hmm.
a lot of the conversations we've had predate the podcast, so no one will have heard our many opinions on this. And I think it's really interesting because I remember us having a conversation about it whereby if you think of commercially the way all of the systems that we use, the various social media platforms, our email, like technically you can say no, but then you can't
Hmm.
use the system. Or it's buried in terms and conditions so arduous that no one reads them or no one understands. And people largely just go, okay, accept it. Now, that's bearing in mind that everyone pretty much knows that that data then is going to be packaged up, sold, used to make profit. And yet, those same people, when it comes to the NHS and their data, there's an ickiness. There's like, oh, God, I don't, even though, largely speaking, we know the NHS doesn't sell your data. It is not then a commercial product. It is not
Hmm.
a way to make money. It is a way to improve the health outcomes of the nation, of you individually write up, the micro to the macro, that data becomes really useful. So I do think we we don't have a very sophisticated cultural understanding of data. I think that is the thing. We don't also have a really robust kind of binary of data sovereignty.
Hmm.
If you take, for example, so I've been doing some reading lately around Estonia, like culturally in Estonia, your data is so important to you that whether it's commercially, publicly, everything, like the rules are very strict because people expect their data to be protected and they expect the kind of default is it's mine and you can't have it unless I say so. We probably live in a much more lax society than that, in
Hmm.
that as soon as the terms and conditions comes up in the tiny box, I'm out. Click and agree, moving on with my life.
And we've talked about this before. I am absolutely the person reading the terms and conditions. I'm the that one.
And that is why we work together, because between us, I get things done and you know what I've done.
Yeah, that's how
And
it works.
and I think that feels like a solid partnership.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I would recommend anyway the whole report. I think it's really fascinating. I think particularly sort of talking about how we can simplify the opt-out process. The recommendations are really clear from what the research has found. And also around raising awareness of people's data and how it's being used is a very clear recommendation, which talks exactly to your point there, Michelle. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff.
And it's nice to see, like, we know that consultation can sometimes feel really arduous, but this is coming to quite a mature place now, this consultation.
Yes.
And it feels very transparent and it does feel like I feel like I can take the recommendations in here and they're usable.
Yeah, definitely. It's not sort of buried within like a 300-page
Yeah,
report or something like that. It is very readable, very clear. Yeah, absolutely.
fabulous. Oh, well, thank you for bringing that one, Katie. Mine's a very short one next, and it is for our local government colleagues, of which we know there are quite a few who listen to our podcast.
Hi, local government
Um,
colleagues.
Hi, we love you.
Yeah.
Um, So yes, so the government have brought out yet more money aimed at improving the digital landscape. So this one is the Digital Planning Improvement Fund, targeting this time local planning authorities. So, this touches on social care because we have so much planning work that goes into building, changing use, and that kind of thing. We're a very building-y
Mhm.
industry. But this funding is targeted at assessing digital maturity and then importantly, once the baseline is set, creating an action plan and accessing the funds and training and resources needed to actually carry that out. And some of the colleagues in the team who love a bit of data, um, the funding can also be used for data cleansing for the publicly available plan and data sets. We love cleansed open source data.
We really do. And by
Hmm.
we, I mean Dan in our
Dan.
team.
Yeah,
And
Dan.
we love what he then does with that data so we can then use it to share information.
Anything that makes Dan happy keeps us all happy.
Absolutely.
So there's up to 50K available per local planning authority. And yeah, it's just, again, money is going out into the system to really start leveling up so that we can look across the country and everyone's on a level playing field. So I like it.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think it's something wherever we spot funding coming out, we will make sure to sort of highlight it on the podcast to make sure people who can apply for it do get involved. There's lots of people who we speak to, who we know listen, who are doing great work. So don't miss out on these opportunities.
Absolutely.
And then my final one is just a little reminder. So, October 14th, which will have passed by the time this podcast goes out, is when Windows 10 goes out of support from Microsoft. So, please make sure to update to Windows 11 or to have a line on your risk register saying why you are not updating ASAP, because else you will not be getting security updates. We have a much more in depth blog from Cyber Sam about things to do if you're not certain about how to update. But yeah, final reminder for me, the time has now come. Windows 10 is out of support.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate on pushing those updates until tomorrow. It's gone. It's happened.
Yeah,
Move on.
exactly.
Get it sorted out.
And Windows 11's fine. We're both using it.
Yeah, it works absolutely fine. Okay. Well, that is all of our news for this week. And it's been another really busy week.
Hmm.
Um, but it does take us to our favorite segment. It's the Cyber
Cyber
Squirrels.
squirrels.
For those of you who are new to the podcast, very often, although not today, some of the stories can be pretty heavy. Some of the conversations that we have on the podcast, can feel drawn out and negative. So we like to end with some happy, fun, light-hearted stories that we've seen, things that aren't like that. There's no like direct line to social care, but we just find them interesting because we work in this space. And we've got one each, a little one each this week, haven't we?
We do, yeah. Do you want to go first?
I'm going to go first because I just love it. So I'm not going to name and shame, but one of my friends who knows who they are contributed to an article in The Guardian around a brand new online dating term called chatfishing. So essentially, this is, I just love it so much, where people, mostly men, are using ChatGPT to kind of, in those initial conversations that you're having online, seem like the perfect potential date. And then you meet them, and it turns out they have never met an open-ended question. They are not how they've presented themselves. They have zero opinions on how you feel about the situations that you previously were having conversations about. I just think it's really, I say it doesn't have a direct line to social care, but we talk all the time about the importance of like human to human interaction, those conversations, those relationships, and it does not get more human than putting yourself out there and online dating.
Hmm.
Um, like it's been a while. In fact, my only experience of online dating was pre-app and ended in a husband. And it's the most disappointing happy ending ever. Like I adore that man, but like I wanted some stories, I wanted some experiences. I didn't get that. I got a very lovely man.
Hmm.
But it just feels very apocalyptic
I
sometimes
just
when people are telling me stories.
Michelle, online dating is a hellhole. I am horrified that this exists. I was like, oh, at least it can't get worse. And then you told me about catfishing, and I was like, oh, great. Am I now putting on my dating profile like, no AI slop, please? Like,
This is the, so recently, I was telling you about this, Casey. I was submitting an article to my university course, and I became so anxiety ridden that they were going to think I'd written it using AI, that I started looking for ways to like downgrade my effort. And I can
Putting in spelling mistakes on
like
purpose.
I like an M dash. They're all gone.
Me too.
I
Oh,
enjoy an M dash, and they're dead to me now.
I'm very sad that I can't use an M dash anymore as well because of the AI thing, and I also
Who
love an
wants
M
to use a
dash.
semicolon?
I know. Not in like chatty
Anyway,
writing.
exactly. So anyway, M dashes are dead to me. And then I was like, imagine that applied to like I'm funny. I don't
Mm.
want to be online dating. I mean, like, I've got to be less funny because you're gonna think it's a. Am I aiming to like be mediocre online and then really shine in person?
This is the
I,
thing, because like my thing, right, is that we're trying to have a chat, trying to get to know each other. Like, I can talk to AI by myself. I don't need you to be there to be a weird intermediary. I,
to be the worst version of AI.
right? It's going to just make my online dating experience even worse.
I'm so sorry, but at least now you know it exists and you know what to
That's
look
true.
for.
That's true.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, we'll share the link to the Guardian article. It was one of those that I came across, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm married.
Yeah. Just going to meet people exclusively in person now.
I mean, yeah, like, aside from anything, like, if the whole marriage thing fails, and I do talk about him as a first husband, often to his face, like, I'd have to take up hobbies, and when am I going to fit them in?
Right? I mean, I do have a lot of hobbies, to be
You
fair.
do have a lot of hobbies. You're an outdoorsy gal. I'm
Yeah.
indoor with a book kind of gal.
Oh, that reminds me of the outdoorsy versus outsidey.
I'm outsidey, Katie.
Yeah, it's do you go swimming in the sea or do you like a gentle stroll along this coast?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Outdoorsy,
You're
outsidey.
outdoorsy, and I am outsidey.
There we go. And mine is also just sort of a bit of a quick one. I don't know if I would say it's funny necessarily, but there's elements of it I find quite funny. So obviously, we had the Online Safety Act has come in, and Ofcom has just announced the first organisation to receive a fine for being in breach of this new legislation. And I don't know why I didn't see this coming, but the first organisation is 4chan, the website, for taking no steps to sort of actually comply with the Act in any way whatsoever, which I think probably anybody who was aware of 4chan would have predicted that they were going to make absolutely no steps to comply with this Act. So yeah, we'll see what happens. They have not so far responded to anything about this, so we'll see how that goes. It's currently just a 20k fine, but it can go up by £600 a day. But the reason why I particularly found it funny was because I remember listening to Gabriel Gatehouse from the BBC's podcast series on sort of the rise of QAnon in America. And in one of the episodes, he had to explain 4chan to people who listen to Radio 4. And it was honestly, not intentionally, one of my favorite, funniest podcast listening moments of all time. So it's a great podcast series anyway. Strongly recommend that 4chan explanation.
I can just kind of see them like bemusely being like, Channel 4 has really gone downhill.
Right.
We don't watch it, so we don't know, but really things have changed over there.
Yeah. So for anybody who has never had the unfortunate time to be on 4chan, I'm very much a millennial. So that was my teenage years. You're not missing out.
It's a cesspit.
It's a cesspit of the internet. But
Yeah, there's
go.
nothing good comes of 4chan. It's basically the 3 o'clock in the morning after the night out of the internet.
Yeah, basically.
Go to bed, turn it off.
Yeah, if you find yourself there, it's been in 2025.
Yeah, things have gone hard. Like, look at your life and make better
Exactly.
choices.
What are the kids saying? Touch grass. That's it, right? Anywho, on that, sorry for insulting any 4chan users who listen to us.
I'm not sorry at all.
Yeah, fair.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. That's us for this week. Come back next week, where we will be discussing the latest digital news in care. So, what happens when two far too plugged in people team up to demystify digital care? You get Control Plus care.
Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. Links to everything discussed today will be in the show notes, with the exception of 4chan, which we think you can find yourself.
Tell a colleague, particularly if they love to use outdated software like Windows 10.